topic or a person of interest. Today is kind of sort of all that and more. Let me put it like that, all that and more. It's a it's a talking point Tuesday, excuse me. And so hour one, you got me, just me, and Miles. Luckily, Miles is here. And we can talk about whatever's on your mind. I've got a few suggestions. Hour two will be joined by a youth organizer, student activist, Tandiwe Abdullah. And I love to hear from younger generations. I think we could do even more of that about where we are in our country and our world right now, today. And of course, hour three is going to be interesting. My friend and colleague, Dr. Melina Abdullah, was here. We meant to address the Department of Justice investigation into Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation, as well as the targeting of Black Lives Matter by the Trump administration through that special memo number 7 and her responses to those things. And we will still get to that. But we have a special other guest joining us, hour three, actually two of them. And one of them is the owner of this radio station, iconic broadcaster, author, and let us not forget, activist, Tavis Smiley. He will be joining me at the top of the hour. And he is going to share some crazy news about Southern California Edison, what was meant to happen with our town hall meeting on Thursday, and where we are right now. And you know, if Tavis is coming in the morning, Mr. Smiley joining me on this show in person, something's going down. So you do not want to miss that conversation. I guarantee you, you don't want to miss that. We'll also be joined a little later in the hour by James Farr, who, as you know, is our expert, our go-to guy around Altadena and the Eaton Canyon disaster. He has a whole show dedicated to it every Saturday at 10. And he was meant to be organizing, well, he has been organizing for months, this town hall with Tavis Smiley, with our KBLA delegation and executives from Southern California Edison. So we've got some breaking news about that. And like I said, you're not going to want to miss this. Yeah, it made my head explode last night when I talked to Mr. Smiley, and we decided that we were going to address this breaking news directly on the air during my show. So that's coming up. As usual, you're invited in every single minute of every hour at 800-920-1580, 800-920-1580. As usual, there is a conversation going on in the comments section of the YouTube chat. That's where we have our live interactive part of the show, which I love so much. I love being able to see and hear your thoughts in real time, both on the phone as well as on YouTube. And of course, all the other social media platforms. I check in with them during the show as well, but the YouTube is the plug because it's constant conversation. And it makes it even more three-dimensional, this experience of being part of the KBLA delegation. So we're at KBLA 1580 on every platform. Please do subscribe. Please do comment and like or don't like whatever we're saying and doing on there, because that is part of what keeps us strong. Being a part of the resistance, being a Black-owned business, being a progressive-driven enterprise in these particular times, in these days, is challenging, right? It's, put it this way, they're not rolling out the red carpet for us. And so the way that you help us to stand strong and continue to do what we do is by showing up. Even if you're showing up, even if I'm that, that African you love to hate, do that. Comment, like, agree, disagree, bring another perspective, bring receipts, drop a GIF, like and subscribe to all things KBLA 1580. And you can also do the same for me. It would be much appreciated. I'm at Diprima Radio, DIPRIMA, and then radio. Okay? It makes a tremendous difference. I know sometimes we're fooling around. I do way too much time. I spend way too much time scrolling, doom scrolling and such. But that engagement really means a lot. And also, it helps us figure out what you want to see, what you want to hear, what is the direction that you would love to see your radio station um, go in right now, in times when we need to be rowing the boat in the same direction. I do agree, unity is paramount. This is not the time to be going in on other organizations and other human beings. But of course, we have to stay to our principles and keep speaking out, speaking truth to power, as they say. It's not local news, but I guess all news is local news to some extent. Former vice president and presidential puppet master Dick Cheney has made his transition, has died. He was 84. Um, he was the defense secretary, he was a congressman, and then he was vice president. And for those of us who lived through um, George W. Bush's reign, Dick Cheney always seemed like the real president, like the puppet master of George W. Bush. Well, even the New York Times calls him the most powerful vice president in American history. And he was the architect of the so-called war on terror. He died yesterday at the age of 84, pneumonia and cardiovascular disease. He had 5 heart attacks. I never knew that, between 1978 and 2010, and had a device to keep his heart regulated. But when I saw him, the way I saw him as Vice President of the United States, I felt like I honestly thought he would live forever. He seemed unstoppable and unfadable, and he had a huge, huge impact. Like I said, to me, he was like the shadow president. Um, I remember we used to think as much. Anyway, he is no longer on the planet, so that's big breaking news that's happening right at this hour. It's also Election Day. It's Election Day all over the USA, and of course, Election Day here in Southern California, all over California. It is the last day to vote on the only thing on the ballot, which is Prop 50. So we'll be talking about Prop 50, and I invite you to call in. We've been having some great and robust conversations around it. Activist Friday Jones graced us with her reasons for a no. Jasmine Canick, activist and Democratic Party delegate, graced us with her reasons for yes, both very passionate in their positions. You can go back and review those shows. They're still available on YouTube if you haven't decided yet. But the most important thing is we have to turn out, right? It's the last day to vote. It's really easy because there's only one thing on the ballot. You still fill out your mail-in ballot and put it in a drop box. I would put it in a county drop box, not the U.S. mail, although technically you can. But if for some reason it doesn't get postmarked today, it won't count. So if you want to go to the post office and make sure they stamp it, postmark it, that's one thing. Other than that, I would go with a county drop box, which are the baby blue and yellow Bruins colored boxes with the official county seal. They're at libraries. They're in front of schools. There's one in Leimert Park, right where the actual park part of Leimert Park is. That's probably the best way. Or go to an actual voting center and vote in person or hand them your mail-in ballot. It's today. If you're mad about it tomorrow, I don't want to hear it if you didn't vote, okay? It's today. Of course, New York, 3 hours later there than it is here. All eyes are on New York because of the mayoral race there, which has captured the imagination of the nation and really embodies both the problems and opportunities of the Democratic Party in the U.S. at this moment. So we got lots to cover today. 800-920-1580. Like I said, if you want to say a thing about a thing, I'm Dominique DePrima for KBLA Talk 1580.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominique DePrima when we come forward.
California, this is your moment. The special election is November 4th, and your vote helps decide your future, your community, and your state. Drop your ballot at a secure drop box. Visit an early vote center or mail it. Your participation powers democracy. Every ballot makes a difference. Tell a friend to do the same. Sign up at where'smyballot.sos.ca.gov to track your ballot. Make your voice count. Don't delay. Vote today. A message from the California Secretary of State.
I'm Scott Hansen, host of NFL Red Zone. Lowe's knows Sundays are for football. That's why we're here to help you get your next DIY project done, even when the clock isn't on your side. Whether that's a new Filtrete filter or Bosch and Cobalt power tools, Lowe's has everything you need to feel like the MVP of DIY. So get it done and earn your Sunday. Shop now, in-store and online. Lowe's, official partner of the NFL.
My ride smells just right, just right, just right, just right.
Y'all gotta try that Febreze car.
Just right, just right, just right. Yeah. La 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 la. With up to 40 days of consistency, all over Febreze car clips right on your vent. You know my car's my happy place. Keep that smile on my face. Yeah, it smells just right, just right, just right. Yeah, breathe happy Febreze. La 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 la.
We've got a lot to talk about.
I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach. Is someone you love struggling with addiction and mental illness? Is improving your family's health important? Want to leave a legacy that your family can grow? Are you ready to enhance your perception of life experiences? Then wake up weekends at 7 a.m. with Urban Family Focus and get the wisdom, opportunity, resources, and motivation to live your best life. Join the conversation on Urban Family Focus Saturday and Sunday at 7 a.m.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black. Your ancestors' favorite radio station, and your favorite morning show host. Let's get back to Dominique DePrima right now.
Okay, KBLA Talk 1580. Miles over here multitasking with the sister. But look, I really just, my main purpose in being on the air right now today is for you to get out and vote, for me to get out and vote, for you to get out and vote. We got to do it. I would like you to vote yes on Prop 50. And I'm really clear on why that's important. I understand the opposition to it. I'm not mad at you if you oppose it. I think Friday Jones and I demonstrated that very clearly yesterday. We can disagree without disrespect. You got to do what you got to do, but I just want you to vote. So I'm a yes on Prop 50, and I think I've articulated why repeatedly, but I'll say it again in case you weren't here those days. Proposition 50 is a response to Donald Trump asking Texas to find him 5 more congressional seats, Republican congressional seats. He asked them to do something which is not normal, which is redraw congressional districts, the areas of voting that decide who gets which seat in Congress. Usually that's done every 10 years during the census. He asked to do it mid-census, which is 2025, middle of the decade, so that he can hold on to control of the House of Representatives. Currently, the Republican Party has the Senate, the House of Representatives, the Supreme Court, and the White House. They have every single lever of power. They have the oligarchs too, right? The shadow power. So they have every single lever of power that's available to anyone in this country. Okay? It's like supervillain level control. And so he wants to keep it that way. So he called Texas and said, I need these 5 seats. And they said, yes, sir. Yes, sir, Your Highness. And they redrew their maps and erased 5 districts that were controlled by Democrats. And just not at all coincidentally diluting black power, right? Drawing away, making disappear the districts of Al Green, Representative Al Green and Representative Jasmine Crockett. All right? That's what they did. That's what they did, and other Republican states are following in their footsteps. So California said, we're not going to sit here and do nothing. If Texas or any other state moves forward with this middle of the decade redistricting and redraws the maps to eliminate Democratic districts and therefore Democratic representatives in Congress, we are going to hit back. We are not going to sit here and let you change the rules of the game in the middle of the decade and do nothing. So California got its own redistricting measure, which is 50. Unlike Texas or some other states, we just can't just draw and drop. The voters have the say-so. So that's why it's going to the polls today, right? And what it does is it allows California to redraw our maps temporarily to create 5 new Democratic seats. 5 districts that used to be Republican districts will now be Democratic leaning. Now, the elections still have to take place and we would still have to win those seats, but it makes it much more likely to eliminate 5 Republican seats. That law only takes effect if Texas or other states are moving to do the same thing for Republicans, which they have, so it is going to take effect. And it only lasts till 2030. It sunsets, which means written into the actual law is its own end, right? And that is 2030. So this is basically a 5-year measure, really 4 years because we're almost at 2026, to counteract the cheating that Republicans are trying to do. I am for this because I do not want this current authoritarian regime, not just Trump, but all of them, to have supreme power like emperors or supervillains. I'm not here for that. I understand that it is not the norm to redistrict in the middle of a decade. I understand that gerrymandering is somewhat shady or very shady. I know that because Republicans have been doing it for decades, which is why they have more members of Congress, even though they have fewer registered voters, because they draw the maps in these weird squiggly configurations to maximize their power and weaken the influence of black people, progressives, and other communities of interest. And by that, I mostly mean other BIPOC folks, right? That's what they do. They've been doing it. That's how they've held on to power, even as their numbers continue to shrink among the voters. I get that y'all don't like that, but I'm not ready to sit here clutching my pearls. Oh my, this is improper, and get steamrolled by these authoritarian oligarchs. Nope, not going to do it. So for me, it's a yes. I understand. I overstand. On yesterday, Friday made the argument, and others have as well, that they're angry with Gavin Newsom. And there's plenty of good reasons for that, for our community, right? He said he was going to appoint a black senator to replace the black senator that went to the White House as vice president. He didn't do that. He appointed someone temporary who wouldn't run again, and then we ended up with the seat being filled by Alex Padilla, who is wonderful, but the replacement that he appointed went to Adam Schiff. Had he appointed someone early who had a real shot, that could have ended up differently. We could have Congresswoman, Senator Barbara Lee. Whatever. He didn't do that, right? He let us down on reparations. Not once, but twice. Now, I understand his point. He took credit on one podcast saying, look, I am the one who signed the law to create the task force, and that's true, he did do that. Credit where credit is due, but then sold us out last summer by pressuring the California Legislative Black Caucus to add amendments and really not even bring the stuff to his desk, and then they were obedient, which is problematic in itself. Very problematic in itself. I get that. And then this year doesn't sign the vast majority of the legislation, even though in the case of dealing with racially motivated eminent domain, the excuse that he gave last time, which is that there was no agency or bureau to process the thing, was overcome by a bill he signed himself to create a bureau. So there's plenty of reasons, and those are just a few. There are more. There's plenty of reasons to be unhappy with Gavin Newsom if you're a black Californian or an African-American voter or even a progressive voter of any ethnicity. I do get that. And I understand that politicians have to be accountable for their decisions. I just don't think that Prop 50 is the place. That's a case of cutting off your nose to spite your face. That's how I see it. So I'm a strong yes on 50. And I'm happy to entertain your contrary views or amen corners or something totally different at 800-920-1580. 800-920-1580. Molly Bell says take the doggone. Well, she didn't say doggone. She says take your ballot to the actual voting center. Wear that little voter sticker. Vote yes on 50. We are one. Look at the Lakers last night. Be blessed, Molly Bell. Yeah. So that's where I am. But where I am even more than that is vote. It looks like it's going to be a low turnout. Well, in a way, that's to the advantage of black people because we vote above our weight class. I think we are about 8% of voters in LA. 8% of the population, and we're close to 20% of the voters. So when we turn out, we move the needle. And that is why the politicians won't stay out of our churches around this time, around voting times. They won't stay out of our communities, our churches, our lives, because they know that we vote above our weight class. And so today is a day when I need us to show up. Paul makes a great point. No on Newsom for black people in the Democratic primaries. So basically, from that perspective, it would be you can vote yes on 50, and then if you are looking to punish the governor for anti-black stances and positions, you can do that when he runs for president, which he is undoubtedly doing. Undoubtedly doing. The LA Times says this is his make or break moment, because if Prop 50 wins, he'll be seen as the leader of Democrats nationwide. That may be, but it doesn't give him an automatic win in the primary. To Paul's point, you can vote yes on 50, which is what I am going to do, and still vote no on Newsom. It's not a referendum per se on him. It's much more important than that. We've got news, traffic, and sports, then more on KBLA Talk 1580.
More of First Things First with Dominique DePrima when we come forward.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Illegal border crossings are surging again. Texas Sheriff Thaddeus Cleveland says his deputies are helping Border Patrol, which made over 8,400 apprehensions in September, nearly double July's total.
Over the last 3 days, probably 6 or 7 groups across the border out this way, but it went from 4,500 to 8,500. It shows that we can't let our foot off the gas.
He says migrants are now being sent home, unlike under the previous administration. Arkansas Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders is sending 100 National Guard troops to Washington, D.C. The soldiers will support civil security operations and train at Fort Chaffee before deploying. And Nicki Minaj is backing Donald Trump's stance on Christian persecution in Nigeria. She thanked him on X for taking the issue seriously, saying she's grateful to worship freely in the U.S. Trump recently threatened military action and added Nigeria to a religious freedom watch list. Get BIN News now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
For victims of drunk and drug driving, our grief is unique. But you are not alone. You always have a place at MAD. Call our 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org.
First, they tried to erase our history.
Pentagon removed training material about the Tuskegee Airmen. Arlington National Cemetery removing histories that highlighted black veterans from its website.
Then they tried to erase our jobs.
Black Americans will disproportionately bear the brunt.
Now they think they can erase our votes.
Steal 5 congressional seats, decimating black and brown representation.
Enough is enough. I matter. My rights matter, and our future matters. That's why I'm voting yes on Prop 50. Prop 50 lets us temporarily redraw California congressional maps to counter the election rigging Trump is trying to pull off in Texas and other states. Californians across the state are stepping up and using the power of their vote to stop the madness. So vote yes on Prop 50 by November 4th, because we can't let them erase our history or our future. This ad is paid for by the NAACP and not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
September is World Alzheimer's Month, a time to shine a light on a public health crisis that hits black families hardest. 1 in 5 black adults ages 70 and older is living with Alzheimer's disease, or AD, and it's not a normal part of aging. Early signs like repeating questions, missed appointments, even trouble handling bills might seem small, but they matter. The good news? There are treatment options available that may slow AD when diagnosed early. Don't wait. Visit treatalzearly.com. That's treatalzearly.com to learn more. This message is brought to you by AZI.
There's a lot of noise out there, so let's keep it simple for a moment. Donald Trump is trying to rig the next election by packing districts with Republicans to guarantee they win more seats. You follow me? If they succeed, Republicans will keep control of the entire government in 2026 and continue enabling Trump's runaway attacks on our rights. You still with me? California is the only state big enough and bold enough to stop him. If we vote yes and pass Prop 50, we can temporarily change California's congressional maps and fight back against the election rigging happening in Texas. Make sense? My mother told me that if a bully hits you, you hit him back. We can hit back by voting yes on Prop 50. The election is November 4th, and you can vote early now. The stakes are too high to sit this out. Stand up to the bully. Choose to fight back by voting yes on Prop 50 on or before November 4th. Ad paid for by Yes on 50, the Election Rigging Response Act, Governor Newsom's Ballot Measure Committee, Ad Committee's top funders, HMP for Prop 50 and Fund for Policy Reform.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. If you need help getting your resume in order, finding job training, or landing a job, we've got 3 great options for you. First, the City of Los Angeles has WorkSource centers across the area offering free job support. The California Workforce Development Board can help you with everything from GED prep to vocational training at no cost to you. On the federal level, the Department of Labor's American Job Centers offer a full range of services for job seekers and businesses alike. Visit careeronestop.org, or for more info, just call California's Help Center or visit cwdb.ca.gov or call 916-657-1440. For the City of Los Angeles programs, go to ewdd.lacity.gov or call 213-744-7300. All these services are free to help you get your next job. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Thanks for waking up with Dominique DePrima on KBLA Talk 1580.
I do thank you. Congratulations to the Dodger Dynasty. They say they're a dynasty. I think you get back to back.
Dynasty?
That's what they're saying. They're saying they're a dynasty.
They won in like 2020, I think, as well. So
yeah, that's 3 in a decade inside of one. No, you don't think that's a dynasty? It's their 9th World Series win.
Okay. I mean, I'll take that. That's just a big word to say.
That's what they're saying. I'm quoting several Dodger players who said that. during their speeches on yesterday, and there was a lot of people that came out to celebrate. So, yay, people are happy. They're calling it a dynasty. I don't, I think back to back, you can kind of say that.
That's a hell of a program over there. So I'm not arguing against it, but that's my first time hearing it. So okay, sure. All right.
The Dodger dynasty is
And
not.
well, you said they were calling themselves the Dodger Dynasty?
No, they were calling themselves a dynasty, and they are the Dodgers, so I say Dodger Dynasty.
Okay, all right. So if the players are going to go out there and say we're a dynasty, then I guess they got to be the ones to back it up. So if they go say that and pop their P's like that, I'm all for it then.
They say they're a MF in Dynasty.
Talk to him. That's different. Okay, for sure. Whatever.
Yeah. I mean, look, I'm not going to argue that they're not. If they have 9 World Series victories, 2 back-to-back, and one, I think, was it 2020? Something like that. Yeah, because everyone was saying it was a fluke because of COVID, right? That's pretty much, that's dynasty territory.
I'll take it. Okay.
All right. Let's go to Sharon calling us from L.A. Good morning, Sharon.
Hey, Dominique. How are you doing this morning?
I'm blessed. How are you?
I'm good. I'm enjoying the show.
Oh, wait, is this our Sharon? Is this a Sharon from the LA Progress? Oh, wow. That is so cool. Yes. One of my favorite guests just called in. Okay. Hi, Queen.
Oh, how sweet of you. So, Dominique, as usual, you are right on point regarding yes on 50. So I have to tell you that initially my response was, oh, no. We shouldn't be doing the same things that Trump is doing in Texas, which is clearly a manipulation to dilute the power of certain demographics. I mean, it's very clear what Trump was doing, but then I thought about it much more deeply. And I thought about the original reason for using the census to redraw congressional lines. Why do we redraw congressional lines? So that the power always follows the people. Every 10 years, we've got to make sure that the people have adequate representation. And if we kept the lines the same because of population growth, because of movement patterns, so on, the people wouldn't be adequately represented. Well, then that, in fact, is exactly what we're doing here in California. What Proposition 50 does is it proactively protects congressional balance. So it is, in fact, a representation of the people. It counteracts what's being done in Texas, where the power is diluted, and rebalances it in California. So I am a strong yes on Proposition 50.
Wow, I followed your logic there, and I think that I'm going to have to ask Ed Sanders to listen to what you just said, because his objection had something similar to do with what you were saying initially, which is, well, this is a little bit, shady or unconstitutional or moves away from the spirit of, right, drawing these maps. And when you say it protects congressional balance by making a move in California to counteract what's being egregiously done in Texas, and that the power has to move with the people, I think that really does address the concerns about the methodology here.
Yeah. Because, each state controls the electorate, but we're looking at an entire federal process. 435 congressional representatives. So we have to look at the entire body. And what California does, it brings the body somewhat back into balance.
Right. And what do you say, Sharon Kyle, to people who are arguing that in this redistricting arms race or gerrymandering arms race, that Republicans win in the end because they have the ability to flip over more districts than Dems do?
Maybe that's true, but that doesn't affect my decision on Proposition 50. I'm not quite drawing a connection.
Yeah. Well, I think some people say, what's the point of abandoning principles against gerrymandering just to lose in the end? But my thought on that was that there's no guarantee that Republicans win that arms race, and we have to do what we can do to try to keep balance.
Right. And then there's the other positive to this. The silver lining is more people will probably vote in this election in California, an off-year election, than they normally do. Because we've given them something to fight against what this administration is doing, more people are engaging, more civically engaged, more informed. And so there's a silver lining in this, regardless of the outcome. As long as we get more people involved, the better we'll be.
Is that because it makes people continue to be engaged because they're more likely to vote in 2026 or 2028 if they had to vote in 2025, because it's raising consciousness, or because it's some ray of hope?
Yes, I think it's all of the above. You know, I think that there's nothing more therapeutic when you're facing dire conditions than taking action. And regardless of how this comes out, people need to know that you have a tool in your hand. Now, voting is not the silver bullet to democracy. It's just one small element. There's a lot more involved. But if you just get in with voting, that gives you an opportunity to build upon it.
Right. It's a start. And I would argue that signing up for the LA Progressive is one of those steps, because the informed electorate is part of a healthy democracy. And you guys will keep a person informed. You go to laprogressive.com. I mean, really, the fact that a lot of people don't understand this and or are not paying attention because they just don't get it is part of the problem, right?
It is. And I have to admit that I've learned so much being the publisher of the LA Progressive for 18 years. I would say that I received a master class in progressive politics just by publishing this. But I understand that, it requires so much reading. So what we've done at the LA Progressive is we record all of our articles so that you can listen to them if you don't have time to read. You can listen while you're driving in the car.
I got to start doing that. Well, I got to take this moment, Sharon Kyle, to congratulate you and your husband, Dick Price, on the Left Coast Forum. It was a vibe. It was a resounding success. We had a huge crowd of people. And what I loved even more was the coming together of sort of the traditional Left Coast Forum crowd with the KBLA crowd for a truly cross-cultural experience, right?
It was multicultural, multi-ethnic, multiracial, and I have to thank Tavis Smiley, you, Dominique, and the team at KBLA Talk 1580 for making it that way. Dick and I have done the Left Coast Forum for a couple of years. We took a hiatus, but we never had as many Black people attend, making it truly multi-ethnic. It was wonderful.
I'm laughing because even in progressive spaces, a lot of times we're in our silos, right? You got Latino progressives are organizing over here, and Black progressives organizing over there, and white people in their own orbit. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? Because there's nothing wrong with organizing for your own community. But it's also great to see the challenge, the synergy, the chemistry that happens when you bring communities of progressives together, which you guys successfully did with the partnership with Tavis Smiley. And, we're all really excited about it. So thank you for bringing back the Left Coast Forum and for your hard work to make such great plenary sessions and such fabulous participants in the whole day.
Cool. Well, if people want to see, if they didn't go and they want to see some pictures, go to leftcoastforum.com, click gallery. You'll see some gorgeous pictures of Dominique DePrima.
I haven't done that yet. Okay, Friday Jones is in our chat challenging us, Sharon. So I want to see what you say about this. She says, protecting congressional balance does not necessarily protect Black political power by literal census blocks, which is how maps are done in California. That is the long-term problem.
Okay. Do you want me to respond?
Yeah.
Okay. So Proposition 50 doesn't stop us from doing the normal every 10-year census redrawing the congressional lines. So we'll return to this conversation back in 2030. in 5 years, we'll return to this conversation. I think that your commenter is absolutely right. But what we're addressing today is an existential threat. And that's why Proposition 50 is so essential.
Yeah, she also says protecting congressional balancing protects the Democratic Party, not necessarily the people. Well, I'm Sharon, if you want to address that, you can. But I would say that when we're talking about things like the permanent removal, possibly of SNAP, the dismantling of Medi-Cal, possibly Medicare, the shrinking or dismantling or privatizing of Social Security, if you give this authoritarian regime supermajority in the House of Representatives or long-term control of all three branches of government, that's what you're looking at. And for me, that is about protecting the people, regardless of party and even ethnicity or race. It's because a lot of low-income people or middle-income people or working-class people from every race and every party are going to suffer. What is it, 42 million Americans? And now Trump is saying they're going to get 50% of their SNAP this month. Well, if he gets a supermajority in Congress, that could be a permanent reduction, and that would not be a surprising development. So I think, that is about protecting the people. That's my read on it. Sharon, do you want to chime in on that?
I couldn't really improve upon that. I think Trump and his entire administration has already forewarned us. They do not respect due process, nor do they respect human life. I mean, just dropping these bombs on people, on these Venezuelans, the way that they are just scooping up people because of their color and accusing them of being undocumented. Many are, but almost 200 people are Americans born here.
Right, who've been detained and, harassed. And the guy that they shot, I think it was Sunday, was an American citizen. I mean, look, agree to disagree, all good. Friday says time will tell. I pray you all are right in the end, peace and reparations. Yeah, I think that's right. Time will tell, and we're doing the best we can. And Daryl says, good and damn well that black folk will vote for Newsom. It is not a credible threat. We're in so much pain that we cannot afford to wait another 8 years. Honestly, we're talking about the primary. Because what we were saying earlier, Sharon, is that if you want to protest Newsom's policies toward black people, don't vote for him when he runs for president. Don't take it out on Prop 50. And I don't agree with that, Daryl, because if it's a primary where we're choosing between different options for our Democratic, standard bearer, black people won't necessarily vote for Newsom if we have other options. I think if it's the general election and it's Newsom versus Vance, yes, we're going to vote for him. But in the primary, given various options, I don't think it's a given that black folks will vote for Newsom. What do you say, Sharon?
Well, my focus has really been on the people. We talk about the executive branch, the legislative branch, the judicial branch, and then the fourth estate, the media. But I think that there's a fifth branch, and it's the most important branch that the congressional representatives are supposed to be the voice for, and that's the people. And so my focus is activism, informing yourself, developing a base of power that can't be denied. We saw when George Floyd was murdered, how the entire world stood up, and almost immediately legislators took action, or at least gave a show that they were going to take action. We still haven't been able to put forward any legislation addressing what happened to George Floyd. But we see that the people have so much power, and we just are not organized to use it.
Yeah.
So whether it's a primary or a general election, what my focus is on is not making a politician a celebrity. They don't control the levers of power. We do. And we need to understand that.
I love that, not making a politician a celebrity, because even our celebrities, some of them, we don't need to be making celebrities or making our celebrities politicians and our politicians celebrities. It's a risky play. Well, Sharon, if you want to stay with me, I'd love to have you. If it was up to me, I'd have you on all the time. But if you got to go, I understand. We are going to continue this conversation when we come forward. Dominique DePrima for KBLA Talk 1580.
A safe place to go loud. A great place for progressive politics. KBLA Talk 1580.
There's a lot of noise out there, so let's keep it simple for a moment. Donald Trump is trying to rig the next election by packing districts with Republicans to guarantee they win more seats. You follow me? If they succeed, Republicans will keep control of the entire government in 2026 and continue enabling Trump's runaway attacks on our rights. You still with me? California is the only state big enough and bold enough to stop him. If we vote yes and pass Prop 50, we can temporarily change California's congressional maps and fight back against the election rigging happening in Texas. Make sense? My mother told me that if a bully hits you, you hit him back. We can hit back by voting yes on Prop 50. The election is November 4th, and you can vote early now. The stakes are too high to sit this out. Stand up to the bully. Choose to fight back by voting yes on Prop 50 on or before November 4th. Ad paid for by Yes on 50. The Election Rigging Response Act, Governor Newsom's Ballot Measure Committee, Ad Committee's top funders, HMP for Prop 50 and Fund for Policy Reform.
An official message from Medicare. Couple more minutes, and we'll start this month's book club.
You know, I usually love a plot twist, but this year, I'm comparing my options during Medicare open enrollment.
You can't assume your current health or drug plan is the best one for you.
And you gotta make sure your drugs are covered. That's important.
So is saving money. Review all your options at Medicare.gov. Open enrollment ends December 7th. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
First, they tried to erase our history.
Pentagon removed training material about the Tuskegee Airmen. Arlington National Cemetery removing histories that highlighted black veterans from its website.
Then they tried to erase our jobs.
Black Americans will disproportionately bear the brunt.
Now they think they can erase our votes.
Steal 5 congressional seats, decimating black and brown representation.
Enough is enough. I matter, my rights matter, and our future matters. That's why I'm voting yes on Prop 50. Prop 50 lets us temporarily redraw California congressional maps to counter the election rigging Trump is trying to pull off in Texas and other states. Californians across the state are stepping up and using the power of their vote to stop the madness. So vote yes on Prop 50 by November 4th, because we can't let them erase our history or our future. This ad is paid for by the NAACP and not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
Lena Bloom for the Bail Project.
Imagine you're stuck in a jail cell and you can't afford bail and someone offers you a way out. Just plead guilty and you can go home and kiss your kids goodnight. What do? What thousands have. You plead guilty whether you are or not. Cash bail makes poverty a crime. That's why the Bail Project helps those who can't afford it while fighting to end cash bail. Because freedom should be free.
Brought to you by the Ad Council.
We knew you'd stick around. This is LA's home for progressive talk radio. Welcome back to KBLA Talk 1580.
I love that. Sharon texted me. She said she has to go. She said, that was fun. I got to get back to work. Can't let Dick do all the work around here. I love that. See, that's why they're still married. They got that partnership, real life partnership. But thank you, Kyle, for putting on the Left Coast Forum, for all the great work you do, and for the LA Progressive. Definitely you want to subscribe. It's free, but you can pay. It's, kind of that Nipsey Hussle model. Pay what you can, pay what you will. They do great work. So, B. Bell says Prop 50 is a Band-Aid on an open wound, but it's better than just bleeding out. Oof. Okay, that's harsh, but you could look at it that way. I think it is definitely better than bleeding out. I got to tell you this, though, because something is about to get wild around here. I have my regularly scheduled guests coming in, and then with breaking news at the 8 o'clock hour, Tavis Smiley is joining me in the studio on the mic. Tavis Smiley, the owner of this radio station, is going to be sharing some breaking news about our town hall, about what's going on with Southern California Edison and their proposed settlement and their signed in writing agreement to talk to the community about that proposal and about this fire, which they are seemingly culpable. And Tavis has got some breaking news for us. And like I said, you know, if the owner of this station is coming on my show with breaking news, it's about to go down. Let me just tell you, it's about to go down because KBLA, we don't black down. Tavis Smiley, you know, has always been about fighting for black people, for our community, for our rights, for our fair and legitimate treatment. And, you know, you look, I don't agree with him all the time. He doesn't agree with me all the time. And you don't have to either. But the one thing about Mr. Smiley, he gonna show up and fight for black people. Ha. So I say that to say you definitely do not want to miss the final hour of today's show. I say that to say it's breaking news, it's marching orders, it's about to go down. Yeah. Agree with you, Carl Tucker. Fire victims, get your money now. And don't get got. How about that? Don't get got. So, yeah, Mr. Smiley will be in with some interesting and crucial conversation about Eaton, Altadena, Southern California Edison, and yes, KBLA. And that is what it is. All eyes on New York. I personally think that Mamdani is going to win, and I hope that he does. Zoran Mamdani, the progressive candidate who is running way ahead in the polls in New York, even though at the last minute Trump has come out and endorsed his his opponent. And the reason I'm laughing and going is because I think of Cuomo. I think of yet another person that Trump is inviting into his circle who's a woman abuser, a sex pest. In his case, confirmed, right? But, yeah, so Elon Musk is making fun of him. Elon Musk has endorsed Andrew Cuomo and is saying his name wrong to try to be disrespectful. Trump has come out and endorsed him. And Democrats have been very slow and very tepid in their endorsements, right? Even though Obama has agreed to be sort of his advisor or offered to be, even though he did get the endorsement of the governor of his state. They're not enthusiastic endorsements. They're like arm's length endorsements. But this is the whole problem with the Democratic Party. They're so corporate and so 1997 that they do not embrace the progressive wing of their party. They don't embrace where the energy is, where the BIPOC people really are, where the working class people are when it comes to the issues, maybe not the slogans, but the actual issues. And even much of the middle class, they don't even want to say working class. And this race embodies in one candidate and the electorate of New York all of the problems and opportunities of today's Democratic Party. I'll be joined by activist Thandiwe Abdullah next, and you on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Illegal border crossings are surging again. Texas Sheriff Thaddeus